No, of course, it'll be a disaster. The constant effort to centralize power, the attack on federalism, which is a keystone of our constitutional republic, that is, to force the states to become uniform under Democrat rule, to force upon the states certain systems that the states may reject. The goal isn't to expand liberty and prosperity and happiness in the country. The goal is to empower the Democrat Party. That way, they don't have these disparate political movements, red states who dare to act beyond what the Democrats demand, taking place in the country. Centralization is the key. And yet, again, the framers of the Constitution wanted to ensure that the states had the authority, the sovereignty of the states, and they wanted to ensure that the Bill of Rights existed later on after they adopted the Constitution to protect your individual rights. Well, do you feel like the Bill of Rights are being upheld against you? I don't think like they're being upheld to protect us. Do you? No. In many ways, they are not. Demonizing language and propaganda to attack our history, to attack our country, and to attack anybody who disagrees with the Democrat Party administration and their American Marxist agenda. We saw that the other day with Joe Biden. Joe Biden can barely get his act together to give a speech on any substantive topic. But if you wind him up and turn him loose, the demagogue and propagandist that he is, in many ways the bigot that he's been throughout his career in the United States Senate and elsewhere, that's where he gets all worked up, and his sentences are actually mostly completed in full. If you don't agree with him, then you must be part of the Bull Connor mentality. You must be part of the 1965 movement against civil rights. You must be a segregationist. If you don't support what the Democrats want to do, then democracy will die. Who talks like this? This is a cheap imitation of Benito Mussolini. That's what it is. They talk about dictatorship. My God, he swings from the most outrageous, irresponsible spending bill that he can't get passed to the most outrageous attempt to nationalize, to change our voting system, violating the federal Constitution, violating the authority of the state legislatures. And if you disagree with Joe Biden and his party and the propagandists and surrogates who support it, then there's something wrong with you. United States of America or United States of the Democrat Party? Look at inflation all over the place. We haven't seen inflation like this in decades. First, Biden denies it. Well, where are the media? I'm old enough to remember during the Reagan administration when he inherited a horrific economy and he was wrestling it to the ground and wound up succeeding in ways that nobody's ever succeeded before. Remember all the stories from the homeless shelters? Where are all the stories from the homeless shelters? With massive inflation, with the price of food going through the roof, the price of gasoline going through the roof. Are there no more homeless shelters? What about the food kitchens? CBS, NBC, ABC used to hang out at food kitchens. They had these stories about a family staying at a food kitchen. What had happened to the family? We don't see those stories anymore. What about the network showing us the empty grocery shelves or the price of meat and beef and milk going up through the roof? Where are the networks? Are they at the grocery stores? No, of course they're not at the grocery stores. How about the car dealerships where used cars have gone up 40% in 1 year? And if you want to get a new car, you have to wait and you get no discounts. No stories about that either. In other words, no stories about how the Democrat Party, Biden, and the American Marxist ideology is affecting everyday Americans in this country. Because it would hurt the Democrat Party. Hurt the Democrat Party. What about people on fixed incomes? Paying $4 for a gallon of gasoline, or in great states like California, where there's nirvana, paying $7 a gallon. What's happening to people on Social Security? No stories there, none whatsoever. No. And what about the parents and the schools? Well, they attack the parents and the schools. What's going on in our schools? Well, ladies and gentlemen, how come we're not teaching Americanism in our schools? All of it. How come we're not teaching entrepreneurship in our schools? How come we're not teaching children how to be successful, how to make a living, how to make a profit, how to do the sort of things that have made America great, and feed the very American Marxist Democrats and media types who attack it? If it were up to them, we'd all starve to death. Where is the push for our ideals and our principles in our school systems? These are called public schools. They are government schools. We do pay for them. Instead, we get all kinds of perverse sexual teachings and their claim to be civil rights. Instead, we get all kinds of critical race theory that I just spoke about. which is said to be civil rights when in fact it's a disgusting ideology. That's the truth. And the war on Reagan. You know, there was a war on Reagan. They tried to destroy Reagan. They wanted to impeach Reagan over the Iran matter. They did everything they could to cripple his administration, cripple his Justice Department, his Defense Department, his State Department. Oh, I remember. Because the Democrat Party is about the Democrat Party, not about America. And the media are about the Democrat Party, not about America. And they're all about these American Marxist ideologies that they push upon us. What about the war on Trump? Donald Trump didn't deserve what he got from the Democrat Party and the media and academia. He hadn't even set foot in the Oval Office before they were trying to destroy him, before the FBI was lying to the FISA court, before the intelligence community was lying about the dossier, and the push by the Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton and their law firms and all the rest. The collusion between the American so-called media and the intelligence agencies and federal law enforcement, again, trying to destroy the Trump presidency as they are trying to destroy post-Trump presidency today because they fear him. They fear him because he's not one of them. So they have to destroy him. Or look at conservative talk radio, or look at Fox News. Look how the Democrats treat us. Look how the media treat us. We're big stories all the time. Oh, yes. They take their words from Media Matters, which is a front group for Soros and the radical left, or Mediaite, which is a front group for Dan Abrams and other organizations and so forth, as far as I'm concerned, pushing their agenda. You never see stories like this about people who work at the NBC or ABC or CBS radio or TV networks. Never. Never. They're protected. So again, I ask the question, do we live in the United States of America or the United States of the Democrat Party, where the Democrat Party's agenda is always number one? And their agenda is to destroy this republic, to destroy the independence of the courts, impact the Supreme Court, to destroy the bicameral system that we've lived with since our founding by turning the Senate and the House of Representatives and the entire Congress into Parliament so they can push their agenda, come hell or high water, to add more Democrats to the Senate by adding more states. Do you think they would add more states? Do you think they would attack the independence of the Supreme Court? Do you think that they would be against and for and now against the filibuster if it didn't help them? Do you think they would support open borders if those were potential Republicans coming across? We know that's not the case, because when it comes to the Cubans who want to come to the United States, that's where they put down the Iron Curtain. Just keep this in mind. Everything the Democrat Party pushes, everything their media push, everything their academies push, is about empowering the Democrat Party to empower the American Marxist movement. Now, we're going to dig further into this phony voting rights and voting reform agenda that's coming up with our great guest, Hans von Spakovsky, an expert in this field. He worked in the voting rights section of the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department. We're also going to talk to Peter Priesman, a guest before.